There are shows that come and go, and then there are shows that quietly change everything. Television in the mid-1970s had a very clear idea of what a prime-time action hero looked like. He was tall, he was tough, and he was almost always a man. Then one character crashed through that assumption so completely, so effortlessly, that the medium never fully recovered from it. She was a former tennis pro and skydiving instructor. She had bionic legs, a bionic arm, and a bionic ear. And she carried an entire series on her rebuilt shoulders for 3 seasons while audiences across 2 continents fell completely in love with her. This is the story behind one of television's most remarkable achievements, the hidden history, the production secrets, and the moments that almost never happened at all. Stay with us through the end, because the conclusion of this story took nearly 2 decades and 2 competing television networks to finally arrive. The whole thing almost ended before it began. When the character first appeared as a guest on a popular science fiction action series in 1975, the writers had no intention of bringing her back. She was written as a love interest for the male lead, given a dramatic and fatal accident, and sent off to a quiet goodbye. The actress who played her believed the role was essentially a farewell to her contract with the studio. The character was supposed to die. Then something unexpected happened. Viewers wrote in. Not a polite trickle of appreciation, but a wave of genuinely emotional letters from people who could not accept what they had just watched. The outpouring was large enough and passionate enough that the producers made a decision most television writers would consider nearly impossible. They reversed the death. The character had not died after all. She had been placed in an experimental suspension procedure and revived through further surgery. She survived, but the operation cost her something deeply personal. Her memories of the man she had loved were gone, at least for now. It was a compromise that let the story continue while preserving the emotional tension that had made audiences care so much in the first place. The producer who shaped what came next was someone with a very specific belief about what made science fiction work on television. He thought the technology was never the point. The question that mattered was what it actually felt like to be the person living inside it. What do you owe the government that rebuilt your body? What happens to the version of yourself that existed before the accident? These were not the kinds of questions that typical action television was asking in 1976. He insisted the new series explore them honestly, and that commitment is a large part of why the show holds up so well decades later. He built a world around the lead character that took her seriously as a full human being, not just a superhero with a convenient set of abilities. The series launched in January of 1976 and within weeks was drawing audiences large enough to challenge and sometimes outperform the very show it had grown out of. Before a single stunt sequence aired, before a single slow-motion leap crossed a television screen, audiences already knew something extraordinary was about to happen. They heard it first. That pulsing electronic sound, layered over footage slowed to roughly a third of normal speed, became one of the most instantly recognizable audio signatures in the entire history of the medium. It cost almost nothing to produce. There were no expensive visual effects, no elaborate camera rigs, no early computer technology. There was a talented sound design team, a camera trick that had existed for decades, and an editor who understood exactly what happened when you ran footage backward and slowed it down. The sound did the rest. It told you in a single second that the rules of the scene had changed, that what you were about to watch did not operate by ordinary physics. The fact that it worked as completely as it did, on a budget that would barely cover a single effects shot today, is a testament to what creative restraint can accomplish when the concept is strong enough. The stunts that made those sequences famous were built on a trick almost embarrassingly simple in hindsight. The stunt woman responsible for those soaring leaps over fences and walls was not jumping at all. She was climbing onto a raised platform and falling backward off of it. The camera captured the fall. The editing room reversed the footage. Played backward and slowed down with the sound effect underneath it, a woman falling off a platform became a bionic athlete launching herself over an obstacle with apparent ease. No wire rigs. No trampolines. No early digital cleanup. Just a skilled stunt woman, a platform, and an editor with a clear eye for what the reversed footage could become. What the show was doing culturally was something the industry had not seen before and was not entirely prepared for. Prime-time action television in the mid-1970s operated on a set of assumptions so deeply embedded that most people in the business did not even recognize them as assumptions. The hero was male. Women in these stories were defined by their relationships to the male hero. Even the most capable female characters eventually needed someone to step in before the final act. This show dismantled that structure without making a speech about it. The lead character simply did not behave according to those rules. She ran toward danger rather than away from it. She pushed back against orders she disagreed with. She had relationships that mattered to her and a private life she refused to surrender entirely to her government work. She was smarter than the people sent to stop her and faster than anything they could put in her way. What made her exceptional as a character, though, was not just the capability. It was the warmth alongside it. She was fully human at the same time she was extraordinary, and that combination had not existed on network television before she walked in. In 1977, the lead actress walked to the podium at one of television's most prestigious award ceremonies and accepted recognition that no one in her category had ever received before. She became the first actress to win a major dramatic award for a science fiction role, at a time when the awards community considered genre television essentially beneath serious consideration. Her performance had never been a simple heroic act. She brought something careful and emotionally honest to the role, the quiet internal struggle of a person who had lost pieces of herself and was working to put them back together without anyone else's map. The win did not just honor her work. It opened a door that had been sealed shut, and every actress who has since received major recognition for genre work can trace a line back to that moment. The second season introduced something the production team may not have fully anticipated would affect audiences as deeply as it did. A pair of human-looking android villains appeared in what was intended as a clever plot device, and for adult viewers that is exactly what they were. For children watching, the experience was something considerably more unsettling. The androids moved almost correctly, spoke almost correctly, smiled in almost the right way, but something underneath all of it felt fractionally wrong in a way that was difficult to name. When they were damaged in confrontation with the lead character, their faces would open to reveal cold machinery underneath. That image, an ordinary human face peeling back to show empty mechanism inside, turned out to be exactly the kind of thing that stays lodged in a child's memory for a very long time. The network received letters from parents whose children had developed genuine fear responses. Some children had reportedly become suspicious of familiar adults in general, because if these beings existed, then anyone could theoretically be one of them. The line between fiction and reality had gone soft in an uncomfortable direction. Decades later, those same androids were affectionately parroted in a major film comedy franchise, which tells you everything about how thoroughly they had embedded themselves into cultural memory. The show's transition between its second and third seasons brought with it a corporate obstacle that frustrated audiences more than almost any story development could have. The two lead characters, the Bionic woman and the man she had been separated from by the events of the very first story, were genuinely beloved together. Their chemistry was real. Their shared history was the foundation the entire show had been built on. When the series moved to a new network for its third season, the male lead could not follow. His contract with the previous network was exclusive and absolute. There would be no guest appearances, no cameo resolutions, no dramatic farewell moment for the audience to hold on to. The separation happened because of paperwork, not storytelling, and that distinction was felt. Curiously, two supporting characters who served the same government agency managed to appear on both shows simultaneously, playing the same roles on competing networks at the same time, while the central relationship simply went unaddressed. The third season brought an unexpected addition that became one of the most talked about elements of the entire run. A German Shepherd rebuilt with bionic technology after a near-fatal accident became the lead character's partner, and audiences responded with an enthusiasm that surprised almost everyone involved. The dog's backstory was handled with more genuine emotional care than most human storylines receive. He had survived physical trauma and carried behavioral effects from it, a fear response that threatened to overwhelm him. The lead character worked with him patiently until he found his footing again. After that, he was her partner in the fullest sense, and the network reportedly discussed building an entire separate series around him. The idea never moved forward, but the serious consideration it received says a great deal about how far the audience's investment in this world had extended. Across the Atlantic, the series landed differently than anyone expected. When it premiered in Britain in the summer of 1976, the first episode drew around 14 million viewers, making it the most watched program in the country that week. More episodes followed into the top 20 by the end of the year. To this day it remains the only science fiction series to reach the top of the British ratings in the entire 20th century. Programs with far longer histories and deeper cultural roots never managed it. A Bionic former tennis player from California did. When a network attempted to revive the concept in 2007, the result illustrated precisely what had made the original work by demonstrating what happened when you removed it. The reboot replaced warmth and optimism with relentless intensity and wall-to-wall darkness. It was technically proficient. It simply had no heart. The original lead actress, who had no involvement in the production, later described the new version as angry and dark, qualities that she noted the original had worked very deliberately not to be. The audience reached the same conclusion and the reboot was cancelled after a single season. The actual ending of the original story took 17 years to arrive, involved 3 separate television films, and required the lead actress to set one firm condition before she would participate. In the late 1980s and into the 1990s, reunion films brought most of the original cast back together. The first re-established both central characters and explored how their lives had developed. A second expanded the world further. Then came the third, and with it the moment the audience had been waiting for since 1976. The lead actress agreed to appear on one condition only: the 2 characters had to get married. After nearly 2 decades of investment, after everything that had happened across the original run and the years in between, anything less would have been a betrayal of what that relationship had always been building toward. The audience had waded through network cancellations, contract disputes, corporate paperwork, and 17 years of real time. It turned out to be worth every single one of them.